going to talk about hot rollers. On my blog and on my Facebook, we talked about new trends that are coming up. And new trends that are coming up are glamorous, bouncy, more vintage, retro-inspired, polished ladylike hair. So we're going to get away from the beachy, messy waves, and we're going to go more into polished hair. To achieve that today, we're going to do the hot rollers. I think it's the easiest way for people to do it at home. And we'll just get started. You're going to need a comb, or that has a tail on it preferably. You don't have to. Or you can just use your fingers to section out. You need a boar bristle flat brush. Boar bristle is going to give you that shine, and it's going to give you that polish. You're going to need a heat protectant. That is super, super duper important. If you are going to heat style your hair, which you're going to need to do more of if you're going to get those glamorous waves, you're going to need something that's going to protect your hair up to 450 degrees. I'm going to be using the Redken Spray Starch because it gives you some hold while it also protects your hair from the heat. Now, when you buy hot rollers, they typically come in a set like this with different varying sizes. I was just telling Tanya that you can buy different size rollers other than the ones that come in. They're replacement rollers that when you take some out, if you don't have enough for your hair, which we might not even have enough for Tanya's hair today, you can replace them while you're working to reheat those. They also will come with clips that look like this, or these U-shaped pins that come like this. These are better to anchor your hair if you're rolling it on the side where the hair hangs a little bit weird and doesn't have time to, or a place to rest on top of the head. I prefer to work with the clips mostly, but you can work with the pins as well. Now you're going to want to let your rollers heat up for about 10 minutes before you get started and let them get nice and warm. They're not going to get too hot because you're going to be able to work with them with bare hands, but they need to get warm for about 10 minutes. We've already plugged these in and let them heat up, so let's get started. I've already distributed some of the spray starch through Tanya's hair. I'll just show you how I did that. You're going to want to make sure you get nice and thorough through the hair, not just on the top section. You want to protect the bottom section as well. Some people like to section out the hair and work section by section. I just spray it through. Since the hot rollers don't get super hot, you don't have to be quite as concerned about saturating every section of hair. So with long hair, I just like to pick it up, kind of spray from a distance, get nice and underneath and on the top as well. You want to work with a heat protectant that's going to dry fairly quickly. You don't want your hair to be wet in any way when you're working with heat. If your hair is wet or damp when you're working with a curling iron or when you're working with hot rollers, you're going to create steam, and that's going to burn the hair even more. So for girls who flat iron their hair as well, make sure your hair is really dry before you start flat ironing. Make sure your hair is really free of all tangles. You don't want to start curling your hair when it's tangly. So you want it to be nice and smooth. You're going to take your comb, your rat tail comb, and I told Tanya we're going to think about the hair in a few different sections. So you want to think about the hair in a mohawk section across the top of the head, and then let everything else hang down. How you determine how wide you get that mohawk section is going to be based on your roller size. So you take your roller and you find out, you lay it on top of the head. You don't want your mohawk section to be any wider than that gray part of the roller there. If it's any wider than that, you're going to pull hair from the sides and it's not going to curl properly. So no wider than that roller, and you're going to take sections no thicker than the diameter of that roller. So that thick and that wide. This is where the rat tail comb comes in handy. So make sure the section is nice and smooth. You're going to want to hold the hair straight up from the head. If you hold it back, further back, you're going to get less volume. The higher you hold the hair from the scalp, the more volume that you're going to get. So if you do want less volume, hold it further down, but we want to go for maximum volume. Some people have a hard time starting the wrapping on the hot rollers. So place the hot roller in about midway through the hair and use the tail to kind of start it, then roll it down. And it's okay if you've got little layers that poke out or anything like that, because you can kind of wrap and roll as you go. And it doesn't need to be super neat because you're going to brush it afterwards. Take the clip it in, and you're done. Work through that mohawk section just across the top there. Now this front section of hair, you can roll forward, you can roll back. I'm going to roll it back so we can get, you know, some nice waves that are coming away from her face because it's a little bit more modern. If you're wanting to go for a little bit more retro or vintage vibe, you're going to want to roll it forward because it's going to come up and kind of around her eyebrow and give that nice kind of sultry retro feel. But today we're going to continue to roll away from the face. Now I finished the top, and it doesn't need to be neat. It can be a little bit lopsided, there can be little flyaways, it's fine because we put product in it. We're trying to get the hair moldable with the heat, and we're trying to get it to take the shape of the roller. We've taken the sides, just the first sections in the front, and rolled them away from her face. So again, she gets that nice kind of a little bit more modern wave that's kind of falling away from her face. The rest of the hair, you can pretty much just take random sections, making sure that they're no thicker than the roller that you're going to use. You can work systematically by just splitting the hair in half and working horizontally like that. If you have really long hair like Tanya does, and you don't want to lose any length at the bottom, because sometimes when you use rollers, they can tend to bounce the hair up and you lose a lot of length. If you don't want to lose any length, you can just take these smaller rollers and just wrap them around the bottom just to get a little bit of curl down here without bouncing them up all the way back up. You can just let those hang loose like that. If you tend to take this bottom section and curl it all the way back up to the root, that's when you're going to get a lot of hair that's shrinking up. If you find that your hair is really healthy and soft, like Tanya's is, which is really good, you might need to spray a little bit more product. You could use a hairspray. Just make sure it's something with not too high of an alcohol content, something that has a heat protectant in it, like the spray starch, because it'll give the hair more pliability and hold on the roller a little bit better. Again, not taking sections that are any wider than the roller. It's a little bit wide here. Roll it up. You're not too concerned with lifting the hair really high out here. We're not trying to get maximum volume at the sides here, we're just trying to get the volume on the top. And just continue around the head. So we have finished curling Tanya's hair with the hot rollers. We let them set for about 10 minutes. You want to touch the rollers and make sure that they're cool and they're back down to room temperature. It's a typical problem with curling your hair, whether it be you're curling it with a curling iron or you're curling it with hot curlers, is people don't let the hair get hot enough and they don't let it cool down enough before they start playing with it and brushing it and running their fingers through it. So if you're using a curling iron, make sure you really let it heat up on the hair, again using a heat protectant. If you're using the hot rollers, make sure they sit on long enough. So as crazy as this could look, you want to do something else while they're cooling. You put on your makeup, you could have breakfast, whatever you can do else to get ready while you have the hot rollers in your hair, because they need to get nice and cool so the hair's not warm and pliable anymore. If the hair's still warm, it's going to be pliable, and when we go to brush them to get those nice waves, you're going to lose all that curl that you just put time into. So we're just going to take out, feel, yep, they're nice and down to room temperature again. You're just going to take them out, and you should have these nice ringlets. You want to take out everything and let it be in a nice kind of bouncy ringlet before you start playing with it. Now we use these U-shaped pins on the front ones here. because we were curling them away from their face, and it's kind of an awkward place for the hair to hang. So those U-shaped pins really come in handy to anchor it, more so than the clips. Now that you've taken everything out, you should have nice height, you should have nice bouncy hair. You're going to look a little bit nutso, but now you take that boar bristle brush, and that's when you can start combing through. You want to take that and go ahead and just brush it. If you did the hot curlers and let them cool, you should still be able to maintain this nice wave while you're brushing. Same with curling iron. Once you've combed it into place, you have those nice bouncy waves. And if you add it, we added a little red lip to Tanya to kind of retro it up a little bit. You probably want to stay for daytime away from the really, really red lip, so we just used something that was nice and glazy and glossy to keep it modern and fresh. Thank you. Ooh, la, 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 la.